So, hello there. Welcome to Bat Chats, the podcast all about the Batman Arkham games. And these are your hosts, Damien, and right next to me is...
Hi, Harley.
Well, you just forget you were supposed to talk there. So, how about we start this podcast with the first game that started it all, Batman Arkham Asylum. Now, one thing you should know is, I know a lot about these games. Harley here does not. He barely knows anything about Batman. So I, as in me, your lovable rapscallion of a host, I'm going to educate and enlighten him, you see. So, let's get started then, shall we? Now then, how about we begin this with a little questionnaire towards Harley. Now, here's some questions for you.
Okay.
Where is Arkham Asylum set?
Arkham City.
Nope.
Wait, no. That's the next game.
Mm-hmm.
Arkham Asylum.
And where is Arkham Asylum?
Arkham Island.
Correct. What is Joker's plan?
Wasn't it to, turn people into monsters?
Correct. And those monsters were called?
Titans.
Correct. What does Scarecrow use as a weapon?
The fear gas.
Fear toxin, but I'll give you that. Because it is a gas. Though it can be a liquid that you inject into people. And that whole thing is that it just brings out your worst fear. As if it's really there. Which does sound scary, and that's the whole point. What happens to Ivy when she is injected with Titan?
Plants get all big.
Mm-hmm. What drug does Bane use?
Venom.
And one more question. Name 3 of Batman's gadgets.
The explosive gel.
Mm-hmm.
The grappling hook.
What's its name?
Grappling hook.
It's got an actual name.
The bat hook.
Close.
Bat nail.
And what looks like a nail? It's a bit sharper.
Bat hook.
A nail that is sharp.
I know there's the batarang as well.
Well, yeah, that's 2. Any other gadgets you can name?
Not sure what it's called.
Oh, okay, so you don't know what a sharp nail is called.
No, it's
Typically seen on an animal.
No, it was the grappling hook we were talking about.
Yes, and it has a name.
What's the name then?
Bat claw.
Oh. Alright then.
Well, you managed to. Good enough. Now then, let's move on to the story. So the story begins as pretty basic. Joker was doing bad crime things. Batman catches him and sends him to the asylum. But Batman thinks that Joker got caught a bit too easily, and he's suspicious of that, so he follows the other guards leading Joker into the asylum. Until there comes a point where they say, Batman, you can't come in here for some reason. Because it's not as if Batman is used to dealing with violent criminals or anything. You know what I mean? So Joker is led in there, and he escapes. Because, well, there wouldn't be a game if he was just brought to his cell and stayed there, would there?
Yeah.
He got out with the help of his girlfriend / just random henchwoman, Harley Quinn, who also got into the asylum somehow, even though she's also a wanted criminal and has access to all these other bits. So then Batman has to fight his way through a bunch of Joker's goons who are also there until he finds Joker again. But Joker has a plan. he unleashes some kind of giant steroid-infused man after Batman. Wonder who that was. But Batman doesn't have time to think because he has to fight this guy. And so he does until this guy seemingly dies of a heart attack or something. And Joker mentions test subjects. What could that mean, I wonder? So then, Batman goes elsewhere and finds out that the Warden has been captured by Harley Quinn, so he has to go after her. And not only that, but his pal Commissioner Gordon has been taken by a corrupt officer. Now he's got 2 people to save, and Joker to catch. What a wild life this Batman leads. So, after escaping to the surface of Arkham Asylum, he goes into the medical building where he believes Gordon is being held. So after going over the place and rescuing a few doctors who were captured by thugs, he makes it down into the basement. But something's off. There's something in the air. Like something scary. As he travels through, he thinks he sees Gordon. Dead. How could he be dead? How can this be? What's going on? Why is everything so weirdly orange, and why are there bugs everywhere? He doesn't have to wonder long, because soon he realizes it's Scarecrow. Scarecrow gassed him with his fear toxin. And so he has to go through this weird nightmare world until he reaches the end, where he seems to find some kind of bat signal, which I guess is some kind of metaphor for him being able to overcome it with his willpower. Though, he may have beaten him this time, but this will not be the last time we see Scarecrow. Batman moves on till he rescues Gordon and realizes that there's someone else being held here. He soon finds out it's Bane. He's been drained of all the venom in his blood. But not for long anyway, because Joker brings it back in, causing Bane to attack Batman and a brief boss fight, which...
Pretty easy.
Yes, it was pretty easy. I once managed to beat it in just over a minute. That should probably go to show how pathetic it quite is. Which is funny because a bit later, Batman mentions that Bane was stronger than he was before. Well, I'd hate to have seen him before, if this was him stronger. So, after getting tossed around by Bane a bit, Batman goes to a bat cave that he, for some reason, has on Arkham Asylum, and he told no one about. Once there, he finds out that one of the doctors has been using Bane as a test subject, extracting the venom from him, and using it to create some kind of drug called Titan. Now, Joker, it seems, wants the formula for it in order to create an army of monsters. Batman realizes he has to rescue this doctor before Joker can get to them. He moves to the Arkham mansion, and after fighting through it a bit, beating up some thugs, he finds the formula and destroys it before Joker can get to it. But as he's leaving, the air smells a bit weird now. And yep, it's Scarecrow again. And this time, he makes Batman relive the thing that all Batmans have to relive, the death of his parents. Because by God, it wouldn't be a Batman story if he didn't see his parents die. Or at least imply that they are dead. And so then, Batman of course goes through a slightly harder nightmare world and makes it out relatively unscathed. Aside from reliving his parents' death for the trillionth time that day. And he rescues the doctor, and the doctor goes to a safe to seemingly find something to get past all these electrified gates that have been spread around that Batman couldn't get through. But the safe is rigged and it blows up. And Harley Quinn shows up a bit and shows that she still has the Warden in case you forgot about him. And duffs him up with his own cane and then goes away to the penitentiary. And so, Batman uses his smart detective skills to follow the blood trail all the way to that building where all the real crazies are kept. So he gets through a bit, sees Poison Ivy, she's there, locked up, and rescues the warden. But while he was rescuing the warden, Harley Quinn shows up, lets Poison Ivy out. I'm sure nothing bad will come of that. And Joker releases all the crazies. So now they're all over the place, screaming and eating dead animals and all that other stuff that mentally ill people do. So now Batman gets to punch even more deranged people, because that's one thing that Batman is good at. After going through the place a bit, punching some people who are probably not even aware of who Batman is, he catches Harley Quinn, and she tells him, accidentally, that Joker is in the Botanical Gardens. Now, here's something that I don't understand. For a place that holds a woman who can control plants with her mind, why would you have a big greenhouse thing?
Plot convenience.
Yes, maybe. But I meant more in the literal sense. It doesn't make much sense. Why would you keep that there? Guess we'll never know. But Joker is there, and I guess he's mixing up chemicals to create the Titan himself. So you make it over there, and you see that Joker does have tons of the stuff. There was some kind of secret production plant there, and he injects 2 of his thugs, who turn into Titans, and now instead of fighting one, who dies after a bit, these 2 are even bigger. But of course, because he's Batman, he beats the both of them. Because, well, he's Batman. Batman realizes that Titan has been created with venom. And so he realizes that he'll need venom plants to stop the Titan. To find a cure, even. So he goes to see Poison Ivy because, Poison Ivy just loves Batman. I'm sure she'll be very willing to help. He finds her and she tells him, oh, well, there are some plants in the sewers in Killer Croc's lair that could help.
Doesn't he fight Poison Ivy?
That's a bit later.
No.
And so instead of just tying her up or anything, he just leaves her there, I guess, and tells her to go back to her cell. Because, Poison Ivy is the type that listens to Batman.
Nah.
Yeah. So, as Batman is leaving, he hears Joker over the intercom say, oh, I injected Ivy with some Titan, which seems to have a different effect on her. Instead of turning her all big and muscly and snarly and growly, it affects her plants and makes them all big and violent and spray poisonous spores. But there's no time for that. You need to get into the sewers and find those plants. So Batman has to go through the place where he started, but while there he finds Scarecrow again. Again even. And this time he has to relive, well, not so much relive, but go through some kind of nightmare sequence where the asylum is being run by the criminals and Batman is the crazy one. And so in his little dream thing he dies. But he lives, you see.
Through his willpower.
Mm-hmm. So then he goes through and gets out again. And then Scarecrow's all like, oh, what are you? You're able to resist the toxin? Well, I'm going to go into the sewers now. Ta-ta, Batman. So you follow him down there, and then he's all like, I'm going to drop this into the water, and now it's going to fill the cave with nightmares. But he doesn't get the chance to because Killer Croc jumps up, grabs him, and drags him into the water. I'm sure he's definitely dead, and he won't come up in a later game, as the main villain or anything. No, that's stupid talk. So Batman moves into Killer Croc's lair, where it suddenly becomes a horror game, where you can't fight him. More so, you walk across flimsy wooden platforms, and every once in a while Croc will jump up. And all you need to do is throw a Batarang at his collar to shock him and send him back into the water. So you keep doing this. inch slowly across the platforms, find the plants and extract them. And then get out of there. Once you're out, you find out that Ivy's plants are all over the place. But you need to get to the Batcave and develop this antidote. So you get there, but you're only able to make one dosage because the process is very slow. Before you can make more, Ivy's plants show up and destroy the computer that you were using to make the antidote. So Batman realizes, oh, I just have a single dose. Then he gets out of there, and he has to face Ivy. Once he gets back to the gardens, he sees that she's now in some kind of giant killer flower. And for some reason, when you're fighting her, you need to throw batarangs at her. Though she is in a protective shell, and every once in a while she decides to poke her head out and laugh at you. Why does she do this? Well, for the game's sake, of course. Not for any logical reason. You'd think she'd just stop after the first time, but nah. Wouldn't be much of a boss fight if you couldn't hurt the boss. So he takes out the plant, and then he hears fireworks. Seems Joker is running a party. And Batman has to get there, being the guest of honor and all that. So he makes it there, and Joker's all like, oh, you ruined my plans, Batman. That's it, I'm gonna have to do something drastic. So he injects himself with Titan and turns into this very silly looking steroid infused Joker with a big green mohawk, a giant pointy nose, and massive manicured nail things. And yeah, and you fight him. But not before he injects you with Titan. And then Batman just injects himself with the cure, robbing us of a pretty interesting final boss, where Batman turns into a Titan and fights Joker. They could have had it that then afterwards he uses the cure on himself. But nah, that would be quite cool, but I guess they just didn't think of that one. So at the end of the fight, Batman sprays some explosive gel on his hand and punches Joker right in the face, taking him out and seemingly doing no permanent damage, because his face looks alright. And so, Joker is beaten, and the day is saved. All the other criminals are locked up again, and it seems like it's said that the Titan wore off. Okay. So apparently this super drug can just wear off.
So there's no need for a cure then?
Yeah, I guess. So Joker's plan kind of falls apart when all of his thugs who he turns into Titans are just gonna turn back to normal, I guess. And so, that's it. There's the story, and Batman flies off into the night. Probably to go stop another criminal who's out again.
He can't fly though, so it's most likely just gonna...
He flies in his Batwing.
Oh.
His jet.
Oh.
Now, let's move on to the gameplay. Now, Batman Arkham Asylum technically has two different styles of gameplay. Straight up combat and predator sequences. The combat is what you would expect. Batman gets plonked down into a room full of criminals and thugs and all that, and he beats them up. He gives them most likely near fatal injuries with how many blows to the heads he gives them, and the way he can just break their arms, which knocks them out somehow. I'm pretty sure breaking a bone doesn't knock you out. But what do I know about Batman logic? Combat is quite fun in this game, in my opinion. Though it gets a bit weird when one moment you fly across the room to hit a guy, and then the next time you try and do it, Batman just stands there punching the air. It's a bit of a mixed bag. The combat gets a bit better in the later games, you know. Then we have the Predator encounters, which is pretty much where Batman is in a room and there's a bunch of thugs with guns. Now, because they have big assault rifles and shotguns and all that, he can't just take them on head on, otherwise he'll get shot a lot. So he has to be stealthy about it, The way to do it is to pick them off one by one. Like, glide behind this guy, take him out, and his friends see him like, hey, what happened to this guy? Oh, no. And then they hear another guy get taken out. Oh, this guy got taken out too. He's taken us out one by one when we're isolated. I know, let's all split up and isolate ourselves for him to take us out. That's a good idea. Though it can get a bit finicky, like when you're walking behind a guy and then he just immediately turns all the way around and shoots you point blank. That's a bit annoying. Then we have the gadgets. Now this game doesn't have as many gadgets as the later games, but still has some game stayers. The ever-present Batarang is there, which despite being a sharp object only knocks people over. For instance, if you hit a guy in the head with it, he just falls on his back instead of, giving him a big gash. Then we have the Bat Claw, which Batman can use to grapple to high places and also grab people. Grab them with the 3 sharp points, which doesn't stab them, I guess, but it does bring them towards him as if he just stuck a sticky thing on him. But once again, what do I know? Then we have an original gadget, actually. The explosive gel. Seems to be some kind of paste that, explodes. He uses this to take out weak walls, and if he sprays it on the ground and waits for a guy to walk over it, he can knock him over. Doesn't, blow their legs off or anything, as you think explosives would, because this thing is powerful enough to break down stone walls. But sure, whatever. If they want to make it so Batman doesn't kill, then they will bend the laws of physics to make sure that he doesn't kill. Now, before we finish, I'd like to see if Harley here has some questions. He's been very quiet this whole time. Harley, any questions?
The logic behind all the gameplay is pretty...
Finicky?
What's the word? No, not finicky, more...
Nonsensical?
It seems like they had loads of ideas and just smashed them into one.
In what ways?
Like, for example, they couldn't be asked to think of an actual thing for the Titan, so it just made it wear off. Seems pretty logical if that's Joker's master plan.
Yeah. Never really understood the whole wearing off bit. So that kind of demystifies his plan, makes it less of a problem. Anything else?
You never mentioned if Ivy's plants got cured or weared off.
Well, seemingly when you take her out, I guess all her plants just start receding and disappearing and all that.
What actually happened to the warden?
Well, you rescue him and then he just hangs out in the penitentiary for the rest of the game. Because, he doesn't really want to go out with a bunch of armed criminals.
Okay. I think that's it.
Is that it? Well, thank you for joining us on this podcast. Stay tuned in for more episodes. Same bat time, same bat channel.